Hey everybody, Nick here, and I got a quick review for you today of a little flashlight for everyday carry, and that's this guy, Thrunite Ti-Hi. And I want to first again thank my buddy Jim for sending this along. He's a big EDC gear fan and a flashlight guy, and so I'm getting a chance to try some lights that I wouldn't have had the funding to try otherwise. So thank you again very much for that, Jim. First, size. This is a very small light. So here's a standard US quarter, here is a AAA battery, and because tradition, here is a Spyderco Delica. This is a very small light. I mean, it's not that much bigger than the AAA battery that lives inside of it. So very, very small, but there's a lot of really nice features packed into this little package. So as always, let's talk good, bad, and ugly. So there's a lot of goodness here, and first and foremost is actually the size. This is a light that you can throw on your keychain and forget about it. This is so much brighter, too, than your mini mag lights. If you remember the little tiny mini mag light you put on your keychain that put out just really terribly crappy little light, this guy is compellingly bright, which is good. So it's a very small light with a very good package. And it's lightweight, and by that I mean it's zero point 0.8 ounces, which is actually, just so you know, about $1.25. So four US quarters weighs about the same as this light. Very, very lightweight, and that's using a lithium energizer battery. So that's a beautiful thing. This is something you can throw in your pocket and forget about it. Another thing I like about this light is that it's shiny, and I don't understand the idea of, well, let's see, it's a flashlight. That means people might need to find it in the dark. So what color should we make it? Matte black? Okay, beautiful. No, that doesn't make sense to me. I like shiny flashlights. Yeah, go figure. The knurling on this is actually very nicely made. I mean, construction-wise, it feels nice in the hand. This is an object of good construction. And it's milled out of titanium, which is a beautiful thing as well. It has a reversible clip, which is good, which means that you can actually mount this like on the brim of your hat if you wanted to, if you flip it around. So you have yourself a very, very silly little headlamp, which works. It has 3 modes, and you select between the modes by twisting. So you twist once, you get low, twist again, you get medium, twist again, you get high. And because I'm fighting the, exposure adjustment on the camera, you're not going to get a great sense of that. But the low is a very low moonlight kind of thing, and it has mode memory, but you can just barely see it there. But at night, in a very dark, dark room when your eyes are night adjusted, the moonlight is actually a really great option. The medium setting will let you navigate a dark room very, very easily, no problem at all. And your high is actually honestly bright. And it lights up a small area of the outdoors. So if you're out walking and you need to see maybe at, 10, 20 feet out in front of you, you can do that very easily with this little guy on high. So that's a good thing. And it's got mode memory, so if you stay in a mode for more than 2 seconds and then turn the light off and then back on, it comes back to that same mode, which is a good thing. You don't have to cycle through each time. It also does have a strobe mode in case you need to have an emergency rave, but I don't know that that's terribly useful to me. But there it is. Also, the light is fairly diffuse. I, for a long time, used one of these little guys, which is an ATP or ITP EOS light, which is about $10 cheaper, but the light is very pointy and just not as nice as this. This has a very diffuse, floody sort of light, which I prefer. One other nice thing to point out is that this actually fits in the pouch of your Leatherman multi-tool. So if you have one of these pouches for your tool, you can slide it into this little side part here, and it sits nicely in there along with your Leatherman, which is just a beautiful thing, and is a great, compelling little way to carry this kind of small light. Beautiful thing. And then the other nice thing is that it takes a boring old AAA battery. Alkalins will explode in there, but alkalins explode in everything. So, here I'm using a lithium cell, Energizer Lithium. But you can also take a rechargeable and a loop kind of thing if you want to, too. But that means that anytime you need a new battery, you can probably find one, because AAAs aren't that hard to find. So, I mean, that's the good. It's compellingly bright in a small package. It's got 3 different modes, it's got a nice diffuse light, and it's small enough that it fits damn near anywhere you need. So that's a beautiful thing. Let's talk a little bit about some of the bad. A couple of bad things here. The battery life is just not stellar on this, as it is for any AAA light. I mean, you only have a very small amount of power in there. And so to give you an idea, on the high mode that can actually illuminate the outside world a little bit, you've got about 30 minutes on high. And that's not a whole lot. If you're, looking for your lost chinchilla out in the yard, you're not going to be able to complete the search before you run out of batteries. That's a really weird example, but there you go. If you want to use the medium, which is good for navigating indoors, you got about 6.5 hours, which is almost an entire night shift. And you got 120 hours in the moonlight mode, but remember, moonlight is very, very dim. And so it's only going to be suitable for like reading in a really dark room when your eyes are adjusted. So, that's 120 hours, though. You got a whole bunch of that. So if you're planning to live underground in the subway for many years, this might be a decent light to take with you with the moonlight mode. God, I'm coming up with weird examples here. One thing to keep in mind, too, is that when you use it in the high mode, this thing heats right up. Titanium isn't as good at heat dispersal, so that's always a problem with titanium flashlights, but this guy puts out some very strong heat on the high setting. Another thing to point out is that this is just awkwardly small to hold. You can certainly do it, no problem, and you can even do something where you're holding something else and you've got your light tucked between your fingers, but it's a very, very small light. It's good for clipping to something, but, yeah. And then finally, it's a little bit gritty. I think it'll probably smooth out with time, but as of the moment, the threading, you can hear this, is a little on the gritty side. But such is life, and it's fairly new titanium, and titanium being titanium will do something like that. So there's the bad. The battery life ain't great, but what do you want for a AAA battery? It heats right up in your hand. It's a little small to hold, and the action's a bit gritty right now. Let's go on into the ugly. The ugly here is that, honestly, twist interfaces just suck. I've tried them a couple of times, but, the interface here is that if you twist the cap on, it turns the light on. And, you can kind of use it one-handed, like do something like that. But the problem is then you're gripping it in a very strange way, and you're doing an action that's not a really... It's kind of a fine motor reaction, and particularly if you're in the dark, and particularly if you're scared for some reason, it's going to be very hard to master this one-handed. So this is a two-hand light that's absolutely freaking tiny. And particularly when you've got a grittier action, that can be a problem. The other thing is that because it's a twist-on interface, it's very easy to bump this light on, where if you apply a little bit of pressure, it suddenly... Oh, sorry, it's on moonlight, so I couldn't even tell it was on. Huh. Here we go. If you apply a little tiny bit of pressure to the front of it, it's very easy to turn this light on. And, that can mean that if it just sits in your pack and something's resting on it, you can drain your battery very, very easily. And that's just no good. So if you're going to store it, you really need to keep it well untwisted, which makes it harder to turn it back on next time you actually need it. So I'm really not a fan of the twist interface, and that's a pretty compelling reason to not do this particular style of light, because all your AAA lights, by and large, are twisty. So what's my final verdict here? This is a light for when you very seldom need light. I talked about tucking it into the pouch of your Leatherman thing, and that's a really good approach. You put a lithium battery in there so it's not going to explode, and that way you've always got a little flashlight on you for when you need it. And for that, this is perfect. You can just stick it someplace in a pouch or in a pocket or something like that, and then when you need a light, you've got a light on you. But the thing is, if you know that you're actually going to need a flashlight, if you know that you work in the dark, or, you crawl around under desks, that's when I need a flashlight most often, or something like that, you need to bring a better light. This is not a really compelling light, and none of these AAAs are really compelling lights for times when you know you're going to need a flashlight for a longer period of time, because you just don't get the battery life you need. It's a weird size, and the twist interface just really sucks. So if you actually know that you need a light, you need to bring better. And I'm going to review a couple of flashlights that are in your single CR123A range that are way, way better as flashlights than this little guy and have better battery life and a bunch of other things. And if you know you're going to need a light a lot, you might consider moving up to something full-size like your Phoenix here that I've already got reviewed, your UC35. So, that's kind of my final verdict, is this is a great light to just stick someplace and have light whenever you need it, but you're not going to have that much light out of it, both in terms of brightness and in terms of duration, and you got to keep that part in mind. So, there you go. This is your Thrunite Ti-Hi. It's a very nice AAA light, and it's a world better than some of the other ones I've tried. But I don't know that a AAA light is what I recommend to most people, given that there are really compelling AA and CR123 lights out there that are just much better lights at a very similar price point and a not too dissimilar size. I hope this has been helpful, and have yourselves a wonderful rest of your day. May this review light up your life. Okay. I'll stop now.